Welcome to the Rev and the Rav, a program of interreligious dialogue and discovery. My name is Rabbi Daniel Lehmann, president of Hebrew College.
And I'm Nick Carter, president of Andover Newton Theological School.
So Nick, last week I was walking around and saw people with ashes on their forehead. So I
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I presumed it was Ash Wednesday. And I wanted to explore with you this whole notion of the Lent season and what kind of preparation it is as we move toward Easter. Obviously, we're also in this period anticipating the Passover holiday, and I'm just curious about both the rituals and the theological ideas behind this particular period.
Sure. Yes. Lent began last Wednesday, and it marks the 40 days of preparation to Easter, counting all the days except Sundays. Now, originally it did count Sundays, but since Sundays are a celebration of resurrection, that they were taken out of the count. So it's 40 days, and the 40 days is suggestive of Jesus' time in the wilderness, time of temptation and preparation for his ministry. So that's where the count comes from, of the 40 days, but also an echo of 40 as a significant biblical number, and time of preparation and wandering.
Right. And we have Moses also spending 40 days and 40 nights on the mountain in preparation for that revelation.
So it's a symbolic number as well as a practical number. And it is probably the most important time of discipline, sacrifice, and faithfulness for Christians, marked by the imposition of ashes, and which is not done in every Christian tradition. Although, interestingly, it's seen a bit of a revival of late.
Even in the Protestants.
Even amongst the Protestants, that there is a growing use of this ritual.
Is there any specific material that the ashes are made of?
Yes, it is burnt palm branches from the Palm Sunday from the year before.
Oh, interesting. It's very funny because we have an interesting parallel to that.
Yeah?
I never thought about this. We have this custom. It's not law, it's a custom in which you take the palm branches used in the holiday of Sukkot, of Tabernacles, where we wave the palm branches, and you use them to burn your leavened products before Passover. You use it as the kindling to burn the leavened products. There's also a burning
yes.
And it's a part of a cleansing process to rid yourself of this leaven, this haughtiness.
Yes, right.
Very interesting. I never thought about that.
I didn't know that. Well, thank you. I'm glad I tuned into the show today.
But I'm wondering now if the notion that the Jews use that is actually coming from Christianity,
or vice versa. But
I don't know.
It's a very interesting thing, and in particular, as the beginning, of course, coming after Fat Tuesday.
Which is Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras and all that is the day before, and
which
the idea.
Is the release, you mean?
No, it's on the assumption that more often than not, Lenten is a time of fasting.
Right.
So this is sort of the last opportunity that you're going to have to consume stuff.
And is there a real ritual of fasting in the Protestant community? And how does
many cases, it's many cases. Typically, the sort of cartoon is, what are you giving up for Lent? Is that Christians would ask. What you would say, well, I gave up, one of the contemporary ones is, I'm on a carbon diet for Lent, including, trying to reduce my carbon footprint. Right. So it has an environmental piece that goes with it. But it's a time of personal introspection and preparation for the holy days coming. And the imposition of ashes goes with a statement that says, basically, from dust you have come, to dust you will return. It's to remind you of your mortality.
As we anticipate Jesus'
Right,
death.
because in essence, one of the best short answers for what does Lent mean, it means baptism. It means participation with Christ in Christ's dying and rising.
So this is interesting. In the Jewish preparation for Passover,
Right.
in the biblical period, and when the temple stood,
Right.
you also had an ash ritual, now that I'm thinking about it, which was the ash of the red heifer. You had this special...
That was a sacrifice?
It was a sacrifice, but the ashes were then mixed together with hyssop and other stuff and sprinkled on people in order to purify them from contact with death, which everybody was presumed to have in one form or another. And that was a part of the preparation before bringing the Passover offering, because you had to kind of purify yourself. And it's specifically the ashes of this reddish cow. And it's, again, in a sense, to remove death as a way to enter into this ritual of the Paschal sacrifice.
Wow.
So in some ways it's very similar. In some ways it's almost opposite, because you're trying to actually remove the stain of death.
Yes. Yeah. They for us it really is a preparation to participate fully in the sense of each time it's a revisiting of our own baptism. And while we don't get rebaptized, you get baptized once. Lent is a revisitation of that confession, declaration, and discipline of obedience, and then preparation, so that we really give meaning to the Easter celebrations.
And this is more intense, I would suspect, than the Advent.
Much more. Much
in
more.
anticipation of Christmas.
Yeah, much more. This is has deeper roots.
Right, more theologically.
It's more theologically
deep.
grounded.
Yeah.
And even though for Christians the whole liturgical calendar is revisiting the chapters of Jesus' life, and Advent sort of is the beginning of the Christian liturgical calendar with the birth of Jesus, and it has a lot of popular meaning because of Christmas. Theologically, Lent has a great deal more meaning in its preparation for Easter, because Easter, of course, is the defining event for Christians. Yeah.
And is there any contemporary commitment to actual fasting? I mean, actually...
Yes, there are many. Not a majority. It still is very much a minority, but it would not surprise any of us to encounter a Christian who say, I'm doing some kind of fasting during Lent. More often not, it's giving up something.
Some kind of
consumption. Some of it gets trivial. I'm giving up ice cream.
Well, in New England, that's actually
that's right. It's one of the basic food groups, right? But giving up meat, or having a vegetarian diet for Lent, or something that I'm going to continue to mark my time of preparation. But there are also then every church will have a time of Lenten study and offer courses or a Bibles or book study or something, time of prayer. You would be hard pressed to find a Christian church that doesn't have a whole Lenten program that it has announced and is now underway, of classes that happen during the week and on Sundays.
I mean, it's interesting, and it seems to me that there must be parallels to the whole idea during Passover that you're eliminating a whole food group by not eating leavened products.
Right.
And obviously that gets translated into the wafer, during the Eucharist, but it seems to me that this also must have a connection and a kind of extension to that notion that, Jews during Passover have this real contraction of their eating as a way of kind of entering into this impoverishment and this slavery, and then ultimately the liberation by restricting our consumption in a certain way.
I think that, clearly there are a significant number of Christian practices and rituals that have their roots in Jewish practice. Although Lent as a ritual season probably really didn't emerge in a full form until 300 or 400 years after Christ's death. After Constantine, and then again in probably the 7th or 8th century, it really took another formative kind of change. So there were sort of two periods of Lenten definition that came up.
But to me, the religious notion that you enter into these sacred periods of the year through preparation, and it's not just something that you come to without that sense of both anticipation and work, meaning that you really need to bring yourself to a certain kind of level of spiritual awareness and consciousness in order to get the most out of these sacred moments. That notion, I think, is both very significant and to some degree countercultural. I mean, you have it here in the build-up to elections, and all of the political discussions, or the build-up to sporting events and that kind of stuff. But the notion that you have a disciplined period in which you need to focus your spiritual energies toward some moment that is intense, and you want to build up towards that intensity, that seems to me a very significant part of religious life across various religious
I think
traditions.
that's a really important observation. One of the things that we always struggle with is sort of easy grace, or getting to the celebration part. And we are constantly saying you can't get to Easter if you haven't been through Good Friday. And in particular, the sense of preparation, and that's often why, like during Lent, is a time when many churches will have their baptismal classes of preparation, and then actually have baptism on Maundy Thursday or early Easter Sunday morning. Is that you've used that time of preparation for your baptism, in addition to where the whole church is readying itself, including new converts are readying themselves. But I really like that sense of preparation. I think that's an important observation. So, well, folks, we thank you for joining us for this session of the Rev and the Rav. We hope that you will join us again and see some of the other videos that we've prepared. I'm Nick Carter, president of Andover Newton. Peace.
And I'm Danny Lehmann from Hebrew College. Shalom.